Hello, I'm Don Fisher, and I'm the president of the Railroad Museum of Long Island. And I'd like to welcome you here today. Have an opportunity to look a little bit at our museum, meet some of our volunteers, and hear about the work that we do here at the Railroad Museum of Long Island. And maybe by the end of this video, you too will think about coming, joining us as a member, and becoming a volunteer.
My name is John Peck. I live in Jamesport, New York, which is just down the road, and I'm a volunteer here at the Railroad Museum of Long Island. I really enjoy the O-gauge trains, and we have two separate layouts here in Riverhead that run O-gauge trains, and that's my favorite item, is to run those trains. The layout is in the building here in Riverhead, and it's 40 feet long and 14 feet wide. It was built by Lionel employees after hours back in the early 90s and actually completed in 1992. At some point later on, maybe 15 years or so down the road, the Lionel folk decided to move their headquarters from Chesterfield, Michigan to the East Coast. And in doing so, they realized they weren't going to move the layout. So they wanted to do something with it other than to just destroy it. They hooked up with some of our people here at the Railroad Museum of Long Island and decided that we could have it for nothing, for whatever it took for us to invest in trucks to haul it here. I've had a house of my own, I don't know, for maybe 55, 60 years now, and had to do all the work on my own. I did plumbing, wiring, woodwork, and those skills have come in handy here. And your inventiveness to try and fix something or change something or introduce something new is very important. If you've got some ideas onto what you think might work down here, discussing it with the other members and kind of coming up with a plan as to how you intend to do it is something I really enjoy a lot. And I also like to run trains, and being here at the museum, you get an opportunity on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, to run trains for the public, and I get a big kick out of that. Watching children's faces when they walk into our museum and they see all the trains running is, believe me, worth $1 million. That's one of the things that I enjoy.
Hello, I'm Kent Howell. I'm from Aquabog, New York, and I'm a volunteer member of the Railroad Museum of Long Island. And one thing I like about the Railroad Museum of Long Island is we get to do almost everything, from setting up model trains, which as a child, of course, I had like most American boys, and we can work outside on real-size, honest-to-goodness trains. We do carpentry work, we do electrical work. We just do the whole gauntlet of jobs that one would do around a facility like this, and it's educated me and helped me at home when I have little jobs to do, so I really enjoy coming out and doing whatever it is I have to do. Yeah, I have to say that this museum represents, to me, the history of Long Island, I come from a family that have been on Long Island for 375 years this year. I'm a Civil War buff, I'm a Revolutionary War buff. True, there were no Civil War battles fought on Long Island, but there was a lot of history in Long Island during both of these conflicts. And the Long Island Railroad played a big part in supplies and training of troops. It was running well before the Civil War. And it all just ties in with working at the museum and the history of Long Island and the history of the east end of Long Island. And here we are on the North Fork, which is really historic. Riverhead is one of the oldest towns on Long Island and was the center, the seat of government back in the time of the Civil War and the time of the railroad finally getting out here. So it gives people something to strive for, to learn more about and to teach more about history. I've always been involved, particularly with my Civil War and doing programs at schools and trying to educate our kids, and it just carries on here. The children love this museum. I mean, they love it. And maybe they don't realize it's the history of where they live, but they do eventually. Even if they subconsciously don't realize it, it drives home. All of my neighbors should consider this museum, should come out and look at it, should come out and study what we have here, and maybe the interest would grow in them to come out and be part of it, because we have to preserve our history, and we can't do it without volunteers. We can't do it without people that are enthusiastic, and I'm sure there's many people out there, even if they don't know it.
My name is Dennis Harrington. I live in Fort Salonga, and I've been a member of the Railroad Museum since 1990 when the museum first came into existence. I have been a trustee on the board. I've been on the board of trustees for the first few years that I was with the board. I was the chairman of the board. I've had a lifelong interest in trains, and this is the perfect spot for a person like me to be. Volunteers who come out to help us, this is an all-volunteer organization, they can help run Lionel electric trains or O-gauge trains. General work around, there's always a lot of jobs to be done, maintaining the property, doing some gardening, if that's what suits you. If physical and dirty work is not your cup of tea, we can put you to work in our gift shop. We need people to help people pick out T-shirts, things that we sell. You can sell tickets. You can act as a docent within the building. You can take a walking tour with some of our guests to some of the different exhibits that we have here, and just explain the history of the museum and the history of railroading on Long Island. We also have a library upstairs, which for those people who are looking to do research on a certain project, if it pertains to railroading in general, but specifically Long Island, we have a pretty nice library of books that you can get great information from. The history of the railroad is very, very well documented, and we have just about all the books that deal with the history of the Long Island Railroad, but railroading on Long Island in general. For those who would like to be an outdoor docent and take people on some of the different actual pieces of railroad rolling stock that we have in our collection, we will be more than happy to give you instruction on the significance of each piece, what it did, how it functioned. For instance, we have car number 200, which was the first, was the prototype of a fleet of double-decker cars that the Long Island Railroad ran up until the 1970s. This car was made in 1932 by the Pennsylvania Railroad and Alcoa Aluminum. We still have the car. It's the only one left in the entire world, and we have it here. It was a very, very significant piece, but we also have a bay window caboose. We have a simulator here that a person can go in and actually taking a locomotive out to Greenport and back. You'll see tracks. It's a great experience. It's like you're really in the cab of a locomotive and you're operating it.
I hope you've enjoyed your view of the Railroad Museum of Long Island today. And I hope that it will encourage you to come down, see the museum, and consider becoming a member and a volunteer with the rest of us. If you liked what you saw and you'd like to contact us for more information or to join, you can look at our web pages at www.rmli.org. Send us an email at info@rmli.us or call. Leave a message on our answering machine and someone will be sure to get back to you. Area code 631-727-7920. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for watching.